Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with the main man, Kev, for the Fans Forum. As you all know, Tuesday night is Fans Forum night, your night to talk anything Aston Villa related on or off the pitch. So get your questions in, get your comments in. Make sure you smash that like button and make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are well on the road to 5,000 subscribers. So please like, please subscribe. And as I say, get your comments flowing in. Make sure as well you join our Villa Park Podcast Fantasy Premier League. Follow that league code WJ38KU. I've put my team in there. It'll probably last a week or two, but anyway, I've put my team in. We have got some prizes that we will announce very soon, so make sure you are in the league with a and in with a chance of winning.
Rich,
Kev,
what's your team name, mate? What's your team name?
just so these strikers. I was trying to think of something related to players. I just couldn't do it, and I was in a rush, so
I'm
I just
so
put my
proud of mine.
team in.
I'm so proud of
What's
mine.
yours?
Mine's Lights Kamara Matson.
I like it. I
have,
like
have a bit of
that.
that. It's good, isn't
You
it?
are too clever for your own
Came
good,
up with
my
that with
friend.
myself. Yeah, thanks very much. It's better than my team will be doing after about 3 or 4 weeks when I forget about it.
Exactly, and we all do that. We all do that. Michelle, good evening to you. Adamski, good evening to you. Lewis, good evening. Engine number nine. We love it.
Love it.
Chippy Bailey, good evening. Yes, Michelle, I'm sure you've got as good a chance as anyone of winning. So, yeah, amazing stuff. And good evening to you, Rachel, as well. So, Kev, I've titled this, and we'll get straight into it. Are Villa ready for the new season?
No.
And if not, why not?
Well, yeah, good luck. If the podcast ended there, it'd be a bit rubbish, wouldn't it? Um, well, yeah, kind of ready. I'm not ready as much as I'd like us to be with having particularly the core parts of the team, that spine of the team sorted. We've got more midfielders than anybody probably. We're light up top. There's uncertainty around Duran. What's going on with him? Is he staying? If he's going to stay, what's he going to be like? Is he still going to go? Watkins hasn't played. There's rumours, obviously, of a pre-season extra friendly being put on potentially behind
Yeah, I
closed
thought there
doors.
would be. I thought there would be.
Yeah. So, but then and I know they're all fairly fit. These players, But is he ready to start? So you've got that, and then you've got the whole situation to the defence. Torres looks a bit rusty. Cons has only just come back. There's no long lay. Carlos has been linked with moves. What is it going to be? Sil Swinkles and Lamar Bogard if we have an injury to Konza or something. So I don't feel like we are. There's a lot of rumours out there. There's still time to get stuff done, and I do trust the club under this stewardship that we've got right now. But right now, if I have to answer the question, I would say the answer to me is no, Richard.
It is a difficult one, isn't it? I was chatting to Gareth, and if you haven't had a chance, please do watch a bit of a teaser for Talking Tactics, moving through, getting Gareth's opinion on what he thinks Unai Emery would be looking at and what he would have hoped to have got from pre-season. And we were chatting and saying, there are elements where he probably doesn't feel as far ahead with the players as he maybe would have liked. But there are also players who, I mean, the team is fairly settled, and if we were to kind of talk about what we would start on Saturday, there's probably really only Andre Onana who comes into that side. Everyone else is Unai Emery trained, Unai Emery ready. There's even the guys who have come back from various competitions in the summer, they're primed and ready to go with how Unai Emery wants them to play. So in a lot of ways, it's yes, there are elements of preseason that you'd be a little bit concerned about. Yes, there are maybe positions that you'd want to re-strengthen, but the actual core of the team is is ready to go if you like.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I just obviously we ended the season, didn't we, with a bit of a whimper. It wasn't particularly
Mm.
great, and I think that one thing that is coming back from a lot of people at the moment is have we improved the first 11? I still think there's time to do that, but I think that is the issue. say what you want to say about Louise. And look, I do think Tielemans is a good replacement for Louise, but I said it a lot last season. I thought Louise was our best player, as in like ability wise. And I think for the first half of the season, I think he probably was, in my eyes, our best player. And I think he will be a massive loss to that team. When you add to that the fact that Watkins and Konza might well be a little bit rusty for the first couple of weeks, McGinn may be the same, uncertainty about our backup striker. It just does worry me. There's all the positive side of it, of course. You know, you've got Rogers looking like he's in good form. We've got Ramsey back, brilliant. Buendia, but how much of a part is he going to play? Who knows? So and you obviously you've got other players that are Nana, Barkley, Matson. So you've got lots of players obviously that can adapt to the system. But I've got, for me, which is not like me, I've got a few more worries than I normally have.
Well, this is what I was saying to Gareth. And we talked about this on Sunday. You know, there's so much excitement, there's so much anticipation, but there's also a little bit of trepidation. There's kind of a not quite know what to expect. And I mean, even if we go into Sunday or sorry, Saturday, and after Saturday we get beat. I mean, it takes 4, 5, 6 games before anything really settles down, doesn't it? Anyway, but it would be nice to get off to a good start in the first game of the season. I can't remember the last time that we did, to be honest.
Well, we definitely did the season we got relegated when Rudy Gestead scored at Bournemouth.
Yeah, one of our only 3 wins of that season.
But I can't think of another time we've won the first. The COVID season. No, the season when we won the first 4 games in a row. Remember, we beat Sheffield United, didn't
Yes,
we? Martinez saved a
yes,
penalty.
yeah,
So yeah, that one we won. Was it a Conza header?
yeah. I mean,
Tinks.
I remember going down to Bournemouth from Newcastle to see
Oh
us
God,
get beat 2-0.
Gerard.
Um, Obviously, last season that was a bit more of a local one for me, but we lost 5-1 to Newcastle. So yeah, it would. We don't. The Premier League don't make it very easy for us. I mean,
I
I
don't
remember in
think.
the Championship us getting beat by Sheffield Wednesday, getting beat and drawing to Hull. So
I was going to say,
yeah,
mate, you said the Premier League make it easy. We didn't didn't coast in the Championship at the start of the season, did we? It was only that
no.
crazy 10-game winning run that got us back to the Premier League. Other than that, we've pretty much struggled most of our time in the Championship. So yeah, it's not going to be easy at West Ham. I mean, the one thing that might be good is that like us, they might take time for their players to adapt. But they've made some really, really good signings. I think a lot of people are looking at their business now and thinking maybe they're the winners of the transfer window. Whereas 2 or 3 days into the window, we were looking like we were absolutely flying, and we've struggled to get deals, both ins and outs, over the line, haven't we? In the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. It's perception, isn't it? Because now we got a lot of business done early. Everyone was saying Ross Barkley at 5 million or whatever the deal was an absolute steal. On Amadou Onana, great deal done for 50 million. And then Ian Martson, really high level quality player done early. Philogene done, did really well to get that deal. So lots of people have said that. I think it's, and look, we don't know the ins and outs and the inner workings of the club, but it does feel a little bit like we would have liked to have got more players out and ready in that way before the start of the season than we are now, because it does feel like we're trying to either we're trying I don't know whether we're trying to play hardball or whether we're trying to act like we're not going to take a deal. We're not going to take less money on a deal, i.e. Duran, i.e. Carlos, but then we're at risk of maybe losing out, getting rid of those players and maybe bringing in some of the targets. And then at the same time, it's like you want Unai Emery strikes me as a manager who wants to have everything done before the start of the season, and
Yeah,
he hasn't got that. He hasn't got that set up yet.
I think it's hard for everybody. I think it's hard for everybody, and there's a lot of teams that haven't done much business. A lot of fan bases will be getting worried. I think for us, it's just that we thought we would have. If you'd have said to all Villa fans, positions that you need to fix before the window opened at all. Okay, admittedly, when we knew Louise was going to leave, you need to replace Louise somehow. But I think a lot of people probably would have said support striker, because I don't know if everyone was fully convinced about Duran, Diaby. I know obviously we'll miss their goals, but and probably defence with Longley going, because obviously we weren't particularly great defensively considering we finished fourth in the league, and shipped quite a few goals at times. They're the two areas we haven't, in terms of centrally, haven't strengthened. So that is why it is a concern. But you're absolutely right. I mean, I remember making this point on a pod maybe a month ago. You know, you can't like keep all the players in the world. You can't have a warehouse full of players. You can't stockpile them. You need to do something with them. And if you can't find anybody to take a Chambers, a Dendonk, I mean, I've heard no rumours about Chambers until all of a sudden, last minute, he went. You know, but for like weeks and weeks and weeks, I'm hoping it's the same for these other players. I've heard one rumour this week for Dendonka to Forest, maybe, with a swap for Gibbs White, which we can talk about shortly. As part of the not a swap. Imagine that, Dendonka for Gibbs White. Yes,
Mate,
please.
I'll be there straight away.
Monchi's doing his business. Yeah, yeah. Dendonka's worth 50 million. But other than that, you know, I'm not hearing anything for, you know, a lot of these players other than Carlos to really Fulham's the only one I've heard. There was a brief link to Sevilla, going back to Sevilla. We got to get rid of some of these players. The Duran one, it felt like it was nearly there, and I thought when we turned that deal down, I don't know if Chelsea they didn't agree in the end, and West Ham we didn't agree to their deal, but I felt with that happening, it meant there must have been something else going on in the background for us to be confident we're going to sell him. And then he's come back with his tail between his legs.
Yeah, and it's possible that, I mean, he's got the attributes to be a good player. Can Unai Emery get something out of him? I mean, for me, in terms of what I said the other day in my kind of observations over pre-season, is we probably need that type of forward player that you can maybe hit if you need to, that's going to cause problems to the defense and the opposition. And we have looked a little bit sluggish or a little bit kind of tentative with playing the ball out, particularly with some integrating some of the new players. So having that option to play into a John Duran or someone like that, I think if we can get his head switched on, I think it's a good asset to have.
Yeah, I think at the moment, I mean, we've the only other person we've had like that in recent years, and you and I used to josh about it all the time, was Keenan Davis. You know,
Yeah, he
but
scored another goal the other day actually
he did.
for
Maybe
Udinese.
maybe a cheeky little bid for him. No. So yeah, Duran's the only one we've got. Like we look a little bit at times one dimensional, and I think a lot of teams worked us out a little bit, worked us out in inverted commas last season a little bit, and we struggled to have the same success that we had in the early season. And we've looked into pre-season the same, like a little bit toothless at times, not created loads. Seems like we've looked a little bit lethargic, a little bit devoid of ideas. You need some unpredictability, whether that is from a physical, bustling Tammy Abraham, John Duran type striker to change it up, whether it's from a Felix type player who's got a bit of magic to break down, you know, those low blocks as everyone calls them these days. Again, Diaby's gone. We've got Philogene. I mean, Philogene I think is a good player, but he's not a French international. You know, and I'm not saying he might not turn out to have the.
I like him. I think he's going to have a good impact. But yeah, you are right. I mean, Gareth talked about the drop in at average age of the squad and that ability then to keep the energy going throughout the full season. And maybe that's a factor, and being able to freshen it up with younger players, maybe that could be a factor. But I mean, just going through a few comments. I mean, Chippy Bailey says he thinks we're only 2 or 3 signings light, but it's
I
do
agree.
we get those signings? Debbie said I think we need to sort our defence out, and it's not necessarily, as you said, like Pau Torres and Ezri Konsa is a pretty decent centre back partnership, but well, it's an excellent centre back partnership if I'm being honest. But is it an excellent centre back partnership for every single game? Because at the moment, that's probably going to have to be the partnership, unless you bring Lamar Bogard in, unless somehow Diego Carlos stays. I mean, Adamski says Dendonka can play centre back, which makes him wonder, is that the reason we haven't shifted him on? I mean,
Don't
is
think
that?
don't think we
Yeah,
think of him for that. I think I'd
but
rather Bogard.
when we were operating, and is Tyrone Mings going to come back the same player? Is Tyrone Mings going to? I mean, I think he would be huge for us to come back in, and if he can hit the ground running. But you're probably talking October until he's up to any sort of fitness. So we're going in quite light at centre back, which don't get me wrong, and we'll talk about signings in a bit, but if we can get Carlos maybe out of the squad and get money for him, and then bring in a younger, more versatile player, then that would be great. But at the moment, it does look a little bit like, I mean, maybe he's thinking of loan signings, maybe he's thinking of loans towards the end of the window. I don't know.
Yeah, I do have faith that something will happen. I do have faith that we will bring in I think Carlos will. I mean, if the rumours to Anderson to Fulham is true, then does that mean that the Carlos deal isn't happening? Are they going to do, two in one go? Like, remember when we did Dunn and Collins? Wow,
Mm.
out of nowhere, like, sure up that defence. But I don't know. Does that mean if Anderson goes to Fulham, then that Carlos doesn't go? Just like we've seen Fulkrug go to West Ham, and it seems that they've gone quiet, obviously, on Duran. So yeah, I don't think we need much. I think we need
No, we don't. We don't.
the surety. But even if Carlos goes and you replace, we're still long lay light. So are they looking at promoting Bogard? Are they? Is Mings closer? I totally agree on Mings. By the way, I think there's a lot of talk about we've moved on from Mings. I think Mings fit would be probably
He would
sharing
be huge.
starting with Torres.
Look at the
Sharing
goals.
starts.
I know we conceded 5 in the opening game of the season and 5 at the end of the season, so that does make a massive impact on the number of goals in the Premier League that we conceded. But you think about the organisation, the leadership, and the heading ability of balls going into the box, like the vulnerability we had off crosses. It's not just the fact that Tyra Mings wins headers from crosses going into the box. It's that attackers think, well, what's the point in me putting in the box in the
Yeah,
first place? Because Mings is going to win the header. That's the
yeah.
point.
He was brilliant in that last half of Unai's season, but first season when we qualified for Conference League, he was brilliant. He was brilliant. He changed a lot of people's minds, mine probably included, to think maybe we were almost better than Mings. His ability on the ball, his passing range, I thought was excellent. I thought he brought the ball out of defence really well. He's strong. He's physical. I just think he was brilliant, and I do genuinely think that he would play if he was fit. He'd play as much as Konza and Torres in terms of all the competitions. I think he would probably share that left spot with Torres. And I think if you're playing your best team, you could argue with him with his physicality would be in it. You could argue that point. Maybe it's him and Torres, Konza right back. Subject to us bringing in Gertrude or whatever. And I genuinely think you've got that, but the injury he had, it wasn't just the ACL, was it? Wasn't it the meniscus too? And it's a multiple parts of your knee issues. He's been out now for a year. I don't really think it's going to be. I mean, even if he comes back, he's already done his knee before. He's 30 now. Doesn't get any easier. Doesn't get any easier
Mm.
at all. And is he going to be able to contribute at the top level in Champions League and Premier League games when he's not played for over a year? I think you'll be lucky to see him again contributing properly by Christmas.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like you say, I'm confident something gets done. I do want to come to a little question in a second, and then we'll kind of talk transfers and transfer rumours. But shout out to Ken again. Massive thanks. £2 super chat there.
Thanks
Always
again. Cheers,
supporting
mate.
us with super chats, mate. It's much appreciated.
Really is. Thank
Uh,
you, Ken.
Almost 200 in the chat as well, which is brilliant. Guys, make sure you smash that like button and hit the subscribe button. As Willie, I think, said before, we're closing on 5,000 subscribers, so please do continue to help us get there. Like, subscribe, and keep those comments flowing through. Yeah, I did want to cover this question. I don't know whether you think that this is correct, but it's an interesting point. Michael says, how can our starting 11 be worse than last season when we're in the Champions League? And he says, with 3 defeats from people getting on Monchi. I don't know about Chris Heck because I think he's done well with the marketing, but Monchi's back, and I will be speaking, and I've got a special show tomorrow with Tom Colomassi, so look out for that because he's obviously caused a bit of a stir with his article, and I guess with this control that Emery has with Monchi, it has got a slight risk. But if I was to pick our starting 11 now that I think it could be, you've got Martinez obviously in goal. I think Cash still at right back, Konsa, Pau Torres, Luca Dean at the moment, Amadou Onana and Tielemans. Then I think it would be Rogers and McGinn, Bailey on the right, Watkins up top. Now,
I agree entirely.
Is that better? Is that worse than last season? Is it the same? What do you think?
Well, your Rodgers. If you argue what Diaby, how Diaby came in terms of the pedigree, you've got Rodgers for Diaby. If I had to pick Rodgers or Diaby now, I'd probably pick Rodgers to start ahead of Diaby if we still had Diaby. And then Louise, I've just said Louise is, I think, our best player last season. But I think Onana gives you that physicality. So you're probably on par. But you'd be expecting, as Michael's point, I think, is that you qualify for the Champions League. You'd be expecting to be adding players to the squad to make the first 11 better. I think it's something that Eddie Howe's said lately in terms of bringing players into Newcastle. He doesn't want to bring anybody in if they can't make that first team better, that first 11 better. So, we've got a lot of really good squad players now, and we've done that
Mhm.
work on, I think, getting that squad to be improved. But I would expect us, and I think the nature of modern football now, I think Unai and Monchi and Heck and everyone's got a lot of credit in the bank. But if we had a bad defeat at West Ham, if we lost to Arsenal, and then Leicester turned us over, there would be a lot of murmurs. There'd be a lot of murmurs on social media.
Probably from me on this podcast, to be
Yeah,
honest with you.
probably.
I think I'll be getting
Sam would be
pelters
back with
from
me as
here,
well.
there, and everywhere. Yeah, yeah. I think you'd be calming me down, to be honest, Kev.
I'd have to, yeah. It's going to be all right. We're going to win the league,
Gary
Rich. Don't
said,
forget.
yeah. Gary said, good team, but Watkins or Martinez injury, and we automatically drop 5 or 6 places. And that's the only. I really like the way that we've improved the squad, and you've said it there, Kev. We've probably got players that can come on, and that game, I say, like, a cup game after a league game, you play the likes of Philogene, Barkley, Illing Jr., Ramsey. You've got Matson even to bed him into the squad, Nedeljkovic to bring him through. You've probably got some really good players that you can bring into a game and still expect a result. But I'm just thinking, have we got enough players to be up there with the likes of Martinez, Konsa, Watkins? And don't get me wrong, every single Premier League team, if Chelsea were to have to do without Cole Palmer, it'd be massive. Don't get me wrong. But like you just said there, Champions League side, you're expecting to maybe add one, two, three others that are vital first team players. Now, maybe Yuri Tielemans steps into that bracket this season. Maybe Amadou Onana comes in to fill those boots, but it's a lot to ask, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Matson will end up being an upgrade and will end up making that position his own.
Yeah,
I think Onana, physicality wise, will be that. When we lack physicality anyway, so you look at that midfield last season, we look at McGinn, Tielemans, Louise, Ramsey, whoever was playing in there, and you would say the one thing would still have been the same, that we need physicality in that midfield. Someone's got to drop out for you to do that. Somebody has, or you've got to shift a position. So I think those two can be improvements on that first 11. You could argue once he's up to speed that Nedeljkovic might be an improvement on Cash in some ways in terms of being, an attacking fullback. But I think the jury's out on him. I still think he could go out on loan, depending on if Katruda comes in. So we haven't got that top talent, and the question is out there, I think, for a lot of Villa fans. If it isn't Felix, and bear in mind, we're looking at Felix irrespective of, I think, of the Duran situation, then who is it? Who is it? I'm actually coming more and more into the idea of Gibbs White.
Gibbs White. I've heard Alex Baena, so we'll talk transfers now. To be fair, um, and I don't want it to be pessimistic, this whole point. I mean, shout out to the AstonVillaFan.com podcast. Evening, guys. Keep up the good work. Think we need to remember what happened at Newcastle. A lot of teams are bringing in players late and need to gel. Absolutely. West Ham, always a tough one for us. 2011 was our last win down there, where some people are worried about Diaby. A fully fit Ramsey is huge for us this season up the Villa. And I've been encouraged with him and Rodgers in terms of the link up that they could have if they play together. So that fills me with a lot of confidence. So yeah, I absolutely don't want to be negative. I don't want to be like down, because we've got so much to be excited about, and we talked about this the other night. It's just, the question is, are we ready? And I think a number of other supporters will be asking themselves the same thing about their clubs, Kev.
Yeah, absolutely. Liverpool fans are saying quite a bit about, and I've not brought anybody in, even though they've looked pretty good in pre-season. West Ham fans were saying the same until they had a flurry of activity. Loads of clubs will be doing it. There's not many clubs saying, "Yeah, we think we've cracked it this season." Loads of, and loads of teams that would want to be kicking on. But you'd think we'd be higher up the queue to get into the nightclub now, wouldn't you? Because we've got, if there's someone that a Spurs are after or a Newcastle are after, subject to affording it, we can we think we can offer them that Champions League football. We think we should be able to get someone in, but maybe it's been so tight with obviously the profit and sustainability. If you can't get Carlos out, you can't get Duran out, then and you're putting all your eggs in the Felix basket. Maybe just maybe it's as follows: we want Felix. You got to wait until mid-August because we don't know what we're doing. So maybe Uno's like, well, we got to wait for Felix, and he thinks it's happening, and then all of a sudden it doesn't happen. So you got to know sometimes when to hold, sometimes when to fold, haven't you? Kenny Rogers. Um, but I think if Felix hasn't happened, and we've got to be decisive now. We've got to move on to the targets, whatever that looks like, and we've got to get something over the line. Danny Ings is available, by the way.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, look, if we keep Duran, I don't think he goes for another forward player. Someone's mentioned about Buendia. Engine Nine has mentioned Buendia. Mate, I think Emery's praised him and said he really likes his mentality, and sometimes he has to tell him to hold back. So if you're thinking Rogers, Ramsey, Buendia, and then you've got Duran and Watkins, you maybe keep with that, and then you get two central defenders. One of them being Gertrude, who can cover in at right back. Maybe that's the play, because I don't think we can sign too many players, and
we
we
can't.
have still got to get a couple of players off the wage bill and basically out of the squad. So that's the challenge. I mean, Gertrude, we've been pushing and pushing and pushing. Apparently, we're in big negotiations for him, but it rests on the Carlos deal. What are your thoughts on that at the moment?
For everything I've seen, and I've seen a fair bit, and I've researched him more since we've had the links in the last few weeks. I would be delighted to get this guy. I think he looks the real deal. Physical, strong, scores goals. He looks like he's got it. Obviously, he can play right back, he can play centre half. So I think that he would be a really good. So this is the kind of signing that I think we've been crying out for at that fullback position, because I think the physicality is something that we've lacked, but also the ability to kind of get up and down the pitch. And I think he's like 23, 24 years old. He's over 6 foot tall, Dutch international, highly rated. I think he would be an excellent sign. You look at probably the price you would have had to pay for a Dumfries, who obviously we were linked with.
Yeah,
Frimpong we were linked with early on. I think he would
yeah.
be a much more of a cut price option on those, and with a really really high ceiling. So I think he'd be great for us. I think he'd be. I mean, we all love Nedeljkovic, right? Um, but let's not kid ourselves, Villa fans, right? Well, if we were a team that had finished 14th last year and we had an up and coming 18-year-old, you know, right back from, is he Serbian? Um, you'd be getting, oh my God, he's a young kid coming through. We're Champions League team now. I can't imagine that the hopes for their right back position for Man City or for Arsenal this season would have fallen on an 18-year-old kid who's not played a minute of Premier League football. And that we've got to think about that, and I think this is the kind of player that would really add some value. If you looked at that team then, if you had Dino or Matson, you had Cash, Konza, Gertrude, potentially right back, a replacement for Carlos in, and then you've got Konza, Torres, Mings to come back in. I think you'd be pretty happy with that.
I absolutely agree. I think, and it is one of those where I think just one signing or one or two signings with getting the players out that maybe are looking at being negotiated out, and I think everything's right with the everything's right with the world. It's just the uncertainty, I think, at the moment, with going into the first game of the season, knowing that there's probably a couple of players who aren't really wanted or are going to have to be integrated back into the squad if they don't get their move. And then there's a couple of areas where we do need to strengthen or need to have additional options that we know we're in the market for players in those positions. So just from a certainty perspective for Villa fans, it'd be nice to get those all sorted and in place.
I don't know why they don't do the following. I should be the transfer impresario at Villa. I'd go to a club like, I don't know, say it's for Buena or say it's for Gertrude and say, we've got loads of players we want to get rid of. Let's just put them all in the deal. You can have Alex. You can have Alex Moreno. You can have Dendonka. You can have Cameron Archer. You can have Matty Cash, and give us that player and 10 million.
It's like a vintage deal, isn't it? Like you just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you put them all in a pile and then just take the photo from like above to make it look good, and then you just put them all together in a bundle.
Yeah, or the alternative is we need my lad when he's on FIFA negotiating. Oh my god, I'm trying to teach him about negotiating. Have you seen the bit when they go into like the boardroom and do all the deals?
Yeah,
Right, and you've got to like offer. You do a sign-on bonus. You do what you and he just literally he's got his budget at the start and he just gives them whatever they want. I'm like, Ted, no, stop it. Like we need to chill out a bit. He's going for like Mbappe. They want like I don't know 100 million. I'm like, offer him 40, and they go, your offer is derisory, and they walk out. But if he was in charge of the transfers, everything would go through. We'd go bust in about 3 weeks. We'd be done for FFP. But it's obviously not as easy. And the thing that really pisses me off about it, right, is that if it wasn't for these ridiculous rules. And by the way, we didn't talk the other day about this Man United apparently having this massive COVID allowance. So you've got Man City with all their 115 charges. You got Man United, every other club only got £1 million allowances for COVID. They got 40 million. And we must be pretty close to the line with some of these deals. And every penny counts. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, why is it one rule for them and one rule for us? It annoys me because actually we've got the money as an ownership to be able to say, actually, we can solve the problems. We'll buy him, and him. Job done. Let's
yeah,
attack it. We're having to play the game that they put out there, whilst others seemingly aren't playing the same game.
yeah. I mean that was crazy. That was a little bit of a it was a bit of a throwaway comment by the guy on Talksport, and I think Jim White was took a bit by surprise, and he said, "Oh yeah, well, every club got around 1 million for COVID allowance, and Man United got 35 million." It was like, what?
Mm.
And then there was
It's,
something else that they got.
it's
Alex
unbelievable.
Moreno, the Alex Moreno's telling you to stop shipping him out. So
You can stay. You
yeah.
can stay. I mean, we don't even know that might be the actual Alex Moreno.
No, he's
Ma-
to be fair, he was at the Alex was at the game in the
oh, is
US,
it?
so he was showing me. He had his photo with Chris Heck and everything, so it was he got
Yeah,
right involved with the players and the staff, which was great.
yeah. You can stay.
Yeah, I mean, I think someone asked the question around kind of dream signing and stuff, but there's been a bit more activity going on this week across the Premier League with more Neto going to Chelsea and Wan-Bissaka and one or two other. I mean, Zubimendi turned down Liverpool. But do you see some kind of last minute deals, panic deals, clubs just being like players just being offered to clubs? Do you see anything whereby Villa will pull a rabbit out of the hat? And what are your thoughts on this? Like in terms of because it feels like we've made big changes to the squad anyway. So a left field signing, I don't know. I don't know whether that happens with us.
No, I think they've probably got everything lined up, unless something landed on their lap. Unless something landed on their lap and they were thinking, you know what, someone's come available and we need them. But like we said, you've got to do something with the Carlos. You've got to do something with a Duran, maybe. You certainly need to get Dendonka out. He's not really featuring in the plans. Who else is there? Moreno. How many left backs do you need? Unless you got someone. I mean, I think I'd probably rather keep Digne than Moreno based on recent form. But one of them, I think, needs to go if you've got Matson.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have heard that we're talking to Baena now. Maybe that's an option, but he's obviously just finished with the Olympics, so whether he's looking at negotiating anything at the moment will be remains to be seen. There was talks of Andre Almeida from Valencia has been talked about. You said Morgan Gibbs White has been mentioned. Yeah, there's just so many uncertainties. However, like I said before, the actual team looks pretty solid. It's just one or two little tweaks that we need. I'm certain. I'm certain of it. It would just be nice to get that one or two deals over the line this week, wouldn't it? The Carlos thing, there, Anderson, they've bid 35 million. Apparently, Fulham, Saudi clubs interesting. Carlos would Carlos consider going to Saudi? John Duran, apparently Saudi considering that. Would he go out there? There's so much kind of in the air that I don't know whether it's going to get done this week or whether it's going to go right to the wire.
Come on, Saudi, solve our problems. Come on, like you
Yeah,
did for
I
us.
know.
Come on, say, let's give us a nice 150 million pound offer for Carlos. Who knows? Who knows? You're absolutely right. I think Carlos, maybe, what is he, over 30 now? Might see it as a good payday. Does Duran want to go there? And he's, what is he, early 20s?
Did you see what they offered Vinicius? Apparently,
What?
something like 13, like a billion pound contract or $1 billion contract or something. And he can leave back to Europe before he's 29 or so, before he's 30 or something. He can he could be an ambassador for the Saudi league when he does return. Just a crazy salary, like absolutely crazy. It was
Yeah,
unbelievable.
it's a real fine line, I think, with some of these top players, because obviously they get paid a ridiculous amount of cash anyway. If you're playing for Real Madrid and Brazil, you're probably doing okay, but he's still early 20s and he's not 24. Um, to give up your best years of your career just for the money, really, because it's not a competitive league. Let's be clear, it might be getting better, but if you're a player, you know where it's at. Top player, you're playing in Europe. That's just the reality of how it goes. Then I think you are selling your soul a little bit to do that. But I can understand why maybe a player like a Carlos, this type of age, might think, "Hey, big last payday. I've had a bad injury. Why not get a year or two contract out there?" Who knows? Who knows what happens? I'd like to think they've got all the targets lined up, and there's been talk in the background. Um, it's not like they're not going to the till and seeing like some chocolate bars on offer where they're paying for the shopping and going, "Oh, I fancy one of those." Like they already know about it. But I think the thing with Villa, this has happened before. We do a lot of business and think, yes, we're flying. Oh my god, we've done it all by by June. Yes, we're gonna get it all sorted by the US tour, and then it just stops. Stop dead.
And then we end up getting a rush loan deal. We had, look, don't get me wrong, Longley did us a fair few favors last season, but he can't tell me he was the number one choice for the backup centre back. And I know obviously Mings got injured, and then before that we ended up getting what's his name, the one at Southampton,
Bednarek.
Bednarek. Like, we never seem to get the right level of centre back. Like, it just seems to be centre half and centre forward seems to be the real like the real kind of troubling positions for us. I don't understand it. And you would think, now having that Champions League football, that Champions League carrot, you would think that players would really want to come because there's enough games for them to get now. Like, it's not as if we are going to have to rest Ollie Watkins at certain periods of the season. There are going to have to be rotation at central defence. So you think that a decent level, a top level centre back would come and be willing to come and be part of the squad, but it just seems like those are positions that we do kind of struggle a little bit with.
Yeah, it's probably because we've got about 75 players there, and they can't make room for them. And if you've got no takers,
Yeah.
then what are you going to do? But I mean, let's talk about it for a second. Who is it? Who is it? We think we need to shift if we want to bring in another centre half alongside a Gertrude potentially, and then a Felix type signing, Buena, whatever. Then you're looking at getting rid of, well, Dendonka, probably a Moreno, maybe an Archer.
Yeah, I think Dendonka goes. I think Moreno maybe. Dendonka, Carlos, Moreno, two of those three. And I wouldn't rule out an Illing Jr. going out on loan.
Yeah, maybe maybe, yeah. Yeah.
This Amadorian, who was meant to be going to Chelsea, he's been linked. And Goncalves, Michael saying we should go for him instead of Felix. I think that ship has sailed, unfortunately. I think PJJ said we've got the targets lined up to 5 players for any given position, scouted and researched
Yep.
in advance. Monchi's MO. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I do agree. It's just, obviously it's always trying to get those players in, which is always the issue. But I do agree we'll have had scouts out. We'll be watching players. I mean, we're signing young players as well. There's obviously different levels of player that we go for. We signed that young lad from Luton. We're looking at signing the Colombia under-20 captain who we're sending out on loan to Real Union. So there's lots of different options that we've got. PJJ says Carlos, Cash, Archer and Dendonka to potentially go. So yeah, it's Gary said he'd sacrifice a couple of league players so we can get a couple of young lads in the team from the academy. I mean, in terms of that, you're very confident we finish in a good position still. I mean, if anyone's watched your predictions, Kev, from the other night, you're still very, very confident.
Yep.
I'm saying top six, so I'm still I again know we've got a good side. I know we've got a way of playing that will win games. Ollie Watkins will come back in. I'm sure will hit the ground running and score goals. There has been a slight rumor that he's injured. I mean, is that a slight concern going into this weekend for you?
Well, it is absolutely, and I am still really confident. I do think we'll do something about it. I do think we'll make some signings. My nerves are because we are what Tuesday night. Well, what 4 days out until me and you are in that away end, Rich, giving it
Yes.
giving it
Yes.
large, giving it large. And if anyone's going to be there, keep an eye out for us. We'll have a beer. But yeah, I would like us to be going into like the press conference for Unai with like everything set. But I think with the transfer window still being open, I think it's gonna run a bit. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hope they do have like a behind closed doors friendly because it would be good to get some more minutes in the legs for Conser and Ollie Watkins and one or two others. I mean, we don't. I hope that we don't get any sort of injury like Emi Buendia suffered in the kind of training game friendly that we had last season. That would be horrific. But to give them some minutes would be great. And I do think we can get a result against West Ham. There's lots of I know people are saying look at the signings that they've made. Who's there? Who is obviously they've signed Kilman, they've signed Wan-Bissaka. Fulkrug. I,
Well,
I mean,
do you
I'm
know
not
what?
that I'm not
I
that
was
sold on Fulkrug.
I was going to say this. I think they've made some good signings, and you could argue with what they've done to the squad. But actually, if you think about it, it's the same argument for us that we made the opposite of previously. Because if you look at all those players, right, I don't think Krug will get in our team ahead of Watkins, right? I don't think Somerville will get in our team ahead of the players that,
Somerville. Yeah.
yeah, ahead of the
Well, we
players
were
that we've
interested in him, weren't we?
we were rumored, but I've never been that impressed. I mean, maybe he's going to be brilliant, but I don't think he'd get in, say, ahead of a Bailey, for example, or a Rogers for us. Would a Kilman get in ahead of Konza and Torres in terms of that partnership? Probably not. I think Kilman's a really good player. So I'm not. I don't think there's any players they've got. I'm thinking I wish we'd got them, other than probably Wan-Bissaka if we don't get the right back options that we've got. We've got to remember that someone might go for a player we think we'd like them, but Fulcrum didn't do much really in his early-ish career. He's a bit of a late bloomer. I think he's a good player, Fulcrum. But again, how's he going to adapt to Premier League? We don't know, do we? There's plenty of players that have had real pedigree that have come to the Premier League and not done it. Um, so yeah, I think they're eminently beatable. West Ham, eminently beatable. But Lopetegui's going to have a point to prove. He's going to want to show what he's all about. And
He's
they
generally
had
done well against Emery, hasn't he?
He has it, but the thing they've also got is because their signings have been recent. They might have that positivity, a bit more positivity from the fan base. I mean, that can easily be kicked out of them by a couple of John Duran screamers in the first 5 minutes. Um, Cash swings one in, Carlos heads it down. I mean, you can easily get the fans back with a good start, but I don't know. I've just got a little bit of nerves. A little bit of
Mm.
nerves.
Yeah, well, everyone does away game, first game of the season. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of anticipation. You also want that momentum. Like we didn't end the season last season with a great deal of momentum. Obviously, we got the Champions League, which was fantastic, and it was a real party atmosphere the last game of the season. But if you look at the form, it was a bit patchy at the end of the season, and then we haven't bounced through pre-season. Although there's been lots of I guess useful games that we've played that have shown us a lot about the squad, and they've really helped in terms of fitness and those kind of things. But it'd just be nice to kind of get off to a good start, whether that be a win or whether that be a good performance in a draw, something like that. That's what we need, and that's what we're so excited for.
Yeah, we don't forget they've got Tadibo as well. I think someone's mentioned that in the comments. So
Oh yes,
who's
Yes.
obviously John Clare to Adiba.
Yeah.
So Christos, Yasu, Philae. Yeah, they have got with him and Kilman. I think that's too good. I mean, I actually feel like I want us to do that. I mean, I alluded to it earlier with Dunn and Collins, where obviously we were a bit light, weren't we, at centre half, and all of a sudden, bang, bang, you've brought in two
And then they come
experienced
in and
captains.
play the first game.
Yeah, yeah. Have you seen that podcast I was saying about the Martin O'Neill chat? What do you want us to do at corners? I brought you two big bleeps to head the ball, so bleeping do it, and that's it. And
That's
then
that's straight out the Brian Clough playbook.
we only conceded one header all season apparently,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it worked. But yeah, I just feel like I want that surety there right now that we've got the solidity at centre half, we've got the options up front, and I do feel what we're missing. I know mentioned, can Barkley be that missing link player? I think Barkley will play more of a role than people think he will. I know there's a bit
Certainly
of
later on in the game to give us that bit of control, I can see. And like you say, he can pick a quick pass. He can, players make runs off him. He can spot things. So that's an important part of the game. Here's a question for you: if we do sign Gertruida, does he come straight into that starting lineup, like you say? A signing that's registered on Thursday or whatever, that before the deadline for the weekend. Do you see him going straight in?
if he's had a full preseason and he's fit, 100%. 100. I think he gives you that something that you don't get from a cash, and you haven't got the option of playing Konza there because obviously we have got. Well, maybe he plays Carlos, Torres, and Konza and Digne. Looks like there's no changes in defence, does it? Really, with our thoughts, put an Arna in. There's no point really buying any of these players, was there?
Oh, sorry, Gear Troudar.
Here through here
Here,
through
here,
here
Trouder.
through
Yeah.
the here through
There we
the
go. There we
yeah
go.
yeah. Maybe we should do that a bit more. Do the
Yeah.
whole thing. Yeah.
Trevor Chalobah as well. We've been linked with him. He's training
Yeah,
with the, he's been forced to train with the under 21s at the moment. I mean, that's crazy.
that
He's
is.
a good player.
No, the no reason for that is that there's like when there's too many people on a bus and you can't get on like a night bus. That
Yeah.
you can't, yeah, I don't know if you've seen the thing
He's
going
in the
around.
convoy car going behind.
Mate, there's some great banter on X about Chelsea having too many players. There's one of some guy, some tragedy going. I can't cope, and it's like Chelsea's kit man. Like it's just like it's non-stop. I don't know why. Like they're buying everybody again. How are they doing it again? Getting around this financial fair play PSR situation again. They've bought every player in the world. I wouldn't be surprised to find out tomorrow that we've got no like we were talking about bringing a centre half in that Konza and Torres have gone to Chelsea because I don't know what they're trying to do. Are they trying to play 11 teams? I don't get it.
Mm.
How are they getting away with
I feel
it?
sorry for that Maresca because he's on a hide into nothing. He's on a hide into nothing.
Yeah, yeah, but they've got some good players. I tell you where I would like us to get, and I've meant to mention this. Madueke, Nono Madueke.
I
He
hear
was
Newcastle are interested.
he was electric against us last season. I always think I could say this about anybody. I could say this about Jack Duckworth from Coronation Street. With a bit of coaching under Unai, get a tune out of him. Tom Daly's retired from diving. Get him under Unai Emery, a bit of coaching. Like you can mention anybody in the world. Oprah Winfrey, bit of coaching from Unai, will sort him right out. But
Was it Diana Ross who took the goal, took the penalty
yeah,
in the '94 World Cup?
that is hilarious. I still
Unai
remember
Emery
that.
would get her sorted,
One,
wouldn't he?
Diana will get down that right wing. I think Madueke's got a bit of X factor, but then is he any better than a Philogene Bale? I don't know, but um, is there anyone else at Chelsea we could bring in? Imagine you got a cut price deal for Reece James because of his injuries and he got him back to his fitness.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Hot take Hylas said he thinks Fulkrug will do well for West Ham. He's got him as his budget striker in FPL, so that's him not scoring on the weekend. At least we're sorted there.
yeah. I don't know. I
Yeah,
can't. I'm not going to say who I've got up front for Lights Kamara Matson, but it's not Fulkrug anyway.
yeah, and everyone, we've got over 200, nearly 250 watching at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday night. Make sure you join our Villa Park Podcast FPL League. The league code is WJ38KU. Please do join. We're getting loads of numbers in now, so the numbers are going up very, very well. make sure you join us, and there will be prizes which we'll be announcing very, very soon. So, yeah, get yourself in so you've got a chance of winning. So, I do want to talk a little bit. I mean, is there anything else you want to cover on the transfer side of things, Kev?
Not really, mate. I think we've kind of covered everyone that I think is there. The only one is we've seen nothing on goalkeepers. So
Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on Gauchi as that backup? Because he's obviously had a few more minutes in pre-season. I wasn't that impressed with him one of the games in America, but then I thought he did well against Bilbao. What are your thoughts on the backup goalkeeper situation?
I don't know if I've seen enough, but from what I have seen, I think he looks decent. He's obviously, he's not a baby. He's sort of 20, 23, 24, but it's a big jump from playing Australian football to playing obviously Premier League, Champions League. But just Olsen fills me with real worry. And if there's any issues with Martinez, is he going to be a bit ring rusty coming back from obviously the exertions of Copa America, long Premier League season? Who knows? Martinez generally just seems to miss a few games each season as well. Isn't it? It's rare he's kind of got through a full season, isn't it, Martinez? And that is the thing that does concern, whether that's with like family illness or injury or suspension or something, whatever it's been. And you might have some key games that you're obviously going to need a goalie for, and all of a sudden, if you're bringing in Gaucho, you're bringing in Olsen. I don't know how confident you feel. Let me just have a check. Yeah, I mean, what 38 games, then 36, 36, 34. So, okay, he's played most of the games, hasn't he? But missed 4 games last season, which, some keepers do go for the whole season, don't they?
Mm,
And not miss a game. So, I could be key. If we'd have missed Champions League, say, by a point, hypothetically speaking, and, look at the goals you conceded maybe with an Olsen in goal, you might be ruining that. But I don't know. I can't see any rumours for Olsen going anywhere. So, that's probably it.
yeah, yeah, I think so. I mean, we've let Marshall go on loan to Crew. I think Oliver Zeech probably goes out on loan as well, closer to the season. We obviously
Uh,
sold Silasalo to
yeah,
Celtic, so I think we're in the market for a couple of younger goalkeepers again.
yeah.
So it looks like he's going with Martinez, Gauchi, and Olsen. And like you say, it is difficult because you're probably going to play what maximum 2, 3, 4 Premier League games, and then a couple of cup games if we get through. That's the difficulty.
Yeah, the other one as well is left back. There was the Dina rumours that he himself went sacre bleu, absolutely no. That's not happening. Which I love that Luca did that. He put kind of that emphasis out there that it's not happening. But I'm looking at it thinking, well, we've got Matson, we've got Dina, we've got Moreno. We don't need 3 left backs.
Mm,
So
yeah, yeah.
I'd like to see some links to something happening there because but then Moreno, what is he, probably 30? How much sell on value is there? You'd think he's a good player. You think you could get a deal with, he didn't buy him for that much money. Could you not get a deal and make a slight loss on him to ship him on? I think that's the other thing for me that needs sorting.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Massive shout out to James. Become a member of the
Thanks, James.
channel. Thank you so much, mate. You are now an official Villa Park Pod follower. And I keep meaning to. I will announce it properly this week. I'll put a message in the members chat on YouTube that I do have one of these amazing Unai Emery's Champions League European Tour key rings to give away. So that's a members only prize. So I will announce the winners probably on the live show on Friday before the match preview show. So make sure you are signed up to be a member to be in with a chance of winning one of these from Matty723. If you've seen him on X, he does some excellent prints, and these are now all sold out. So you will have a chance to win one of these exclusive now. Unai Emery's Champions League Villa key rings. James, no problem, mate. No problem. Great to have you in the chat. And thank you, James. Yes, cheers, lads. Always a great listen. Up the Villa. Thank you so much, mate. It's much appreciated. So let's talk a little bit off the pitch. We've seen the home kit go down an absolute stormer Kev, and the advert and everything that followed it, and we've seen pictures of it in various shops, JD stores across the country, in airports across the country as well. And I think, 3,500 Villa fans in Dortmund. I think probably 3,000 of them were wearing the brand new Aston Villa home top. We've seen leak of the away jersey. What are your thoughts on it? For it's out on Friday, I believe. Maybe a little bit standard, a little bit kind of safe. What are your thoughts? I mean, I'm not a huge kit. I'm not bothered too much about it, but do you think they could have pushed the boat out a little bit more?
Well, I've seen some fair amount of negativity out there on social media. I'm going to do my Louis Walsh impression now. I like it. I think it's nice. It's like simple, classic. I think it's smart. I remember there wasn't massive clamour for that home kit when it first came out. Then the campaign comes with it. You see it on someone's back. You see one of the players wearing it, and then all of a sudden it's this iconic kit. I think the away kit's nicer than the home kit. There's my hot take. But yeah, I mean, what do you want? What do we want? Like, you want pink stars in the middle or something? I don't know. What do we need? Like, purple spots. It's classic. I quite like the collar detail on it. I think that's quite nice. Might not be great in the August and September when it's a bit hot, but you know. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think Villa have classically had white kits over the years with a bit of blue detail. So yeah, I like it, and I guess I'll be wearing it on Saturday evening.
Yeah, I like it. I mean,
I like it.
the I like it.
I
Yeah.
like. I like it. See, it's catching.
I'll
It's
do a
catching.
Simon Cowell. I don't like it. I love it.
You just said you thought it was all right.
Yeah, no, no. I was just doing my Simon Cowell to your
Oh
Louis
yeah, it was good. It
Walsh.
was very good.
But yeah, I like the way that the Adidas stripes match the detail in the badge. I like that.
Yeah,
And yeah, like you say, when it's just shown as a picture, it looks completely different to when a player or a supporter or whoever has is wearing it. And yes, nowadays when it's linked in with the promo video, and it's got the pizzazz with JD and all that kind of stuff, and it's put next to the home kit and everything like that. It looks completely different, doesn't it? And it brings
yeah,
an extra shine to it. And then I think they're hopefully going to launch all the training gear as well with this before this weekend. And I actually think it's going to be a massive bumper weekend of like kit sales, training kit
Goncalves,
sales.
Buena,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Felix changes his mind.
That's just going to raise the money for all of these players. But
Conor
yeah, I
Gallagher's
mean,
seen hitchhiking his way up the
yeah,
M6.
yeah, they're all coming in. They're all
Yeah,
coming in. Right, we've sold an extra 25,000 kits. Get yourself in, Joe.
I
Get
love it. I
yourself
love.
in.
It's,
Yeah,
it's, it's going to be an exciting week. It's going to. Rich,
yeah.
you got me on the train now. It's kits, transfers. The third kit's coming. The third kit's probably where they will push the boat out. Um, so I think that third kit, you might get something a bit sexy in terms of, I don't know, it might be. I heard rumors of, like, remember the '94 away, like the black, green, red. I heard rumors of that, but I don't know if that'll be that bold. But yeah, I'd really like to see something quite different. Remember that Luke third kit? The only one I've got of that Luke kit, and I love that Rotherham away game, iconic. But yeah, watch this space, transfers, kits, victories at the London Stadium. Come on.
No, I do actually like the away top, and I think depending on kind of the shorts and the socks, I think they'll probably be quite transferable between the home and away, like the alternative.
Yeah,
They always have alternate shorts, alternate socks, and stuff like that, don't they? To go with both kits that can kind of be interchangeable. So I do like that. I mean, PJJ said he prefers it too. Kev Classic, those three Adidas stripes do the job. Gary H said it's not golden buzzer material though. Yeah. James, 4.99 super chat. Thank you
thanks, mate.
so much, mate. He
Cheers,
likes
James.
it too and appreciates the content up the Villa. We appreciate you as well, mate. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you so much.
Peter said if it's got the Champions League badge on it, it could be a burlap sack with holes cut for the arms and head, as far
Yeah,
as I'm concerned.
100%.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I do like it, and I think, like you say, it'll do really well. I mean, for me, I'm just I'm just buzzing about all the training kit. I've seen like the video going around the store, and I really like the kind of the silvery grey one. And then I like the green one. I really not the I like the luminous one, like the real bright one.
Yeah,
Um,
I am. Yeah,
yeah,
I get excited. I'm more of a training gear wearer than a kit wearer. I mean, when I've still got, it says a lot about like the quality of like the Macron and Crapper kits. I've still got a couple of Nike bits of stuff under the O'Neill era. I've got a pair of claret shorts with the Nike logo on that are still grand. I've got, remember the Acorns? I've got an Acorns.
yeah.
I've got a
Lots of
black
people like
Acorn.
the acorn stuff.
I've got a black Acorns training top I still wear, and I'm thinking I'm wearing that. I need to probably upgrade to like the Adidas stuff now. So Adidas. Um, so yeah, I've seen like greens and oranges and all sorts of funky colours. There's a cheeky little top Uno I was wearing I think in the
There's a
video.
grey one that for the staff, and then there's the red one for the staff, and I think there's a green, like a plain green one.
Here's a question for you: what age do you have to be able to wear the staff stuff? You can't wear it when you're 25, can you? I think when you're
No,
like 43, like we are, I think you can probably get away wearing
yeah.
the
Because
staff
it's
stuff.
always like a little bit more formal, isn't it? With
Yeah, a
like
bit too
the
professional.
polo shirt. Yeah,
Yeah, you're
yeah.
not gonna have a skin fade, are you, and wear that like that?
Yeah, I do agree. I do agree because it's always like the staff tops that are being sold a little bit for a bit cheaper are available back at the end of
Yeah,
the season.
for the
But
more
no, I think it's going to
discerning
do
gent.
really well. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm looking forward to the end of the season. 70% off as well. Like, fill that basket. Thanks very much.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, look, it is an exciting time, and the season is very, very, very fast approaching. I mean, we've had a Carabao Cup today. I think did Birmingham City win? Did they
Yeah, they
manage to get
won.
a win?
Yeah, they won.
So yeah, we're still in with a shout of drawing them. We don't go into the third round, so we're in the shout with drawing them. So we'll see about that. But yeah, season does feel like it's really kicking into gear, doesn't it? The championship started on the weekend. Wayne Rooney
Rich,
doing well in his first
Rich, what?
game with
Rich,
Plymouth.
what? Why have you just said that? Why have you just said we could still draw blues? I can see it now. I've gone down the negative route, spiraling. We're going to lose a few league games, and then we're going to go to St Andrews in the third round of the Carabao Cup. We're going to lose 4-0. Gertrude is going to pass one back to Martinez. It's going to go under his boot. It's going to be Enkelman all over again. Unai Emery out. Oh God, no! Don't think it.
Don't be silly.
Don't
Don't
think
be
it. That
silly.
they've got to stick in it long enough to play us. That's
Mm,
how far the gap is. Yeah, I'd like us to have a go at one of these competitions, and I think with the squad we've got, we talked a lot about this, the squad improving. We should be able to pick a team now. If we mentioned our first 11, right? If you think that the backup team now potentially playing a Carabao Cup game could be say it's a Robin Olsen in goal, then maybe it's a Nadalkovic, Moreno, new centre half, and Bogard potentially, or maybe you still keep Konza in there. Then you've probably got Buendia. Then you've got Philogene. Then you've got Duran. Then you've got, I mean,
Baranachea, Barkley,
Baranachar, Barkley,
Ramsey,
Ramsey. You've got some decent players kicking around there. So yeah,
Cameron Archer.
Cam Archer, absolutely, yeah. So I do think you've got, and you probably wouldn't rest everybody, but you probably could rest 9, 10 players now and still have a team good enough to beat probably even a lower Premier League team because others will probably make changes. If we could get, I think we could really kickstart this Unai era under Villa, this dynasty that we want him to have 10 years at the club. Is let's lift the Carabao Cup this season. Let's beat a weaker Man City in the quarterfinals. Let's go for it. Let's get a trip to Wembley. Let's win a trophy, because that success breeds. Wasn't it the first trophy Man City won under what they
Hmm.
did? So I don't want it to be a situation where we kind of give up on the domestic cups. We'll naturally struggle with the Champions League because it's obviously high quality, and for all of the confidence that I've got that we'll have a really really good season, we'll get it right. It's still a very very competitive Premier League at the top end.
Yeah. Yeah, I would really like to do well in the cup. And Gareth was talking about it before and saying, look, the realistic, uh, the realism is that teams will see who they get in the early rounds, see how far they get, and then go around, see where they are in the quarterfinals, that kind of thing, and then prioritize it. So if we can be in and around it by then, that would really be nice because we were at Middlesbrough, and it was great just to win a cup game. So
Unbelievable, yeah,
to get to
unbelievable.
round 5, 6, or semi-final would be fantastic, and then we take it from there. And as you say, I think those players that could come in and for maybe not as regular games that aren't either going to challenge for first team, but maybe not, won't quite be are still good players, and it's not. I feel like the step down isn't so much. What I would just like to see is a couple more real high quality players, and then I
Yeah,
think we really set.
yeah. And if Man United can win 2 cups in 2 years, bloody Man United who are rubbish, then we, the mighty Aston Villa under Unai, certainly can. So let's have it.
Let's have it. Mate, I think that's a good time to finish up the fans forum. Thank you everyone for all your comments and questions in the chat. We've got loads of shows this week. I'm telling you, I've got a special show tomorrow morning that will be released with Tom Colomosi after his controversial article that he's written. So I'll be getting his views on that. I've got a new opposition preview called In the Away End that will have Dan Lawless from West Ham United Fan TV and from Football's 12 Man podcast. So, real special guest there. We've got our live show on Friday for our full match preview as well with the lads. And then we've got instant match reaction. We've got the Lions Raw match reaction on Sunday. So, plenty of shows to come and maybe some transfer talk shows as well if we can get some deals over the line. So, do make sure you smash that like button and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help us on the road to 5,000 subscribers. Your support has been amazing, so keep that going, please, people. Make sure you join our Villa Park Podcast FPL League. The league code is WJ38KU. Get involved in our Fantasy Premier League game. Like I say, we'll be back with plenty of shows this week. Kev, thank you very much. As always, great chat. Thank you, everyone, for
Awesome.
watching. And remember, we all follow the Villa.